story which is completely unremarkable. Anywhere it would be unremarkable, especially today, it's going to seem really unremarkable, okay? It takes place in my street, on one street in Harvest Road in Brent, God's borough of Brent, okay? And it began, I was sitting there, I'd been working on a book project about cities, which is not as easy as it sounds, it was very hard. This book was called Turnaround Challenge. We had the cover ready to go, and I decided it would be really good if we turned the R in the word turnaround round backwards in what I thought was this very sexy, sort of Sovietic, avant-garde way. And I showed it to my dad in this proud son-to-father moment, and he looked and he said, yeah, like in Toys R Us. Because that's where it stuck. Okay. So there I was, on Harvest Road, and I came across a news article about a woman dying in Bournemouth. That was the trigger. And she was called Anne Lightram. She died in Bournemouth in her 70s. My question to you is, how long had she been there when they found her body? You know, give me a guess. A year? I'll give you more than a year? 6 years. 6 years on a communal garden, ground floor flat, windows open, 6 years. And it was only the bailiffs, when her bank account ran out, that they came and found her. And I asked myself, I don't know what the answer is for you. I asked myself, how many neighbours have I got? Not friends, not family, who would knock on my door. I don't know what your answer is. But my answer was 0. And I thought to myself, what a loser. Not just a loser, but pond scum loser. Because I go around talking about sustainability stuff. So I suddenly looked to myself and thought, you are at the bottom of this massive walk-talk chasm. It's not a gap, it's a chasm. Then I was walking along the street. I bumped into a woman I vaguely recognized on my street with shopping, and I tried to strike up a conversation, and she said to me, I know you. You're the guy on his mobile phone all the time. Like I said, none. In June, I went and did in my Achilles tendon. I was playing cricket on my brother's birthday. I was trying to hit the ball as hard as I could, and I snapped my Achilles tendon. The big lesson from that is never exercise at all, ever they tell you. But it was a gift, because it was a huge chance to read, which I didn't take. I watched Breaking Bad instead. But I did walk. And there's this quote from St. Augustine, which says, walking solves everything. So I started walking around Brent. And you know Brent, it's beautiful, but it's kind of not exactly, it's more famous for its stabbings than its scenery, you could say. And but I started to notice, there's apple trees, there's vines, there's wild vines, there's grapes. And as the weeks went by, I started to notice the grapes going from green to red to purple to black. Then one day I was walking really slowly around the park, really slowly, hobbling on crutches. And this 80-year-old Italian man with gout overtook me. And on impulse, I called out to him as he surged past me at about 1 mile per hour. On impulse, I called out to him, excuse me, but do you know how to make wine? And he stopped. Silver hair, red Ferrari cap, ramrod straight, aquiline nose. And he said, the soles of my feet are still red from making wine as a boy. And we were off. We were going to become winemakers, him and me. Forget Bordeaux, forget Bourgogne. We were going to turn Brent into the Napa Valley of the North. And, of course, why are we doing this? We're doing this for the booze. We're doing this for the wine. We got a dream. 200 bottles lined up. NW6, we're calling it, with a bouquet of Bakerloo, which runs past my house, rattling the plates in the kitchen. A little hint of diesel from the Pendolino, nutrifying it. And if we're lucky, some notes of plutonium from the nuclear train that hurtles past, apocalyptically in the small hours of the morning, with its cargo of waste. We got this vision, which is 200 bottles of wine, but it's also kind of more than that. In this London and in this society where we're starting to put up the drawbridge, where we're moving from the city of Ford, where we're cut off from each other and restricted by the hard boundaries of the road to our own flats, but where we're moving from that even within our own flats to the city of Facebook, turning away from each other to our screens. Could we turn this city, could we turn starting from this road into something where we did start to engage with each other again? Or where we move from something that looks like it's a place where the long spectre of xenophobia could start again to become our instinctive norm? Could we turn that around and make this a street where none of us would be the next Anne Lightrum? That was the dream. Where are we now? Well, the old guy's name is Paolo Santini. He's 84 years old. He lives 2 doors down from me with his disabled wife and his second son. And he last made wine when he was 29 years old in his local village of Emilia-Romagna in Italy, 55 years back. And 3 weekends ago, he made it again with a group of 35 of us from all around the neighborhood. There was Nicola, former lorry driver with a bit of an eye for the ladies in his late 70s. There was Louis, a Filipino great-grandmother. There was John Joe Maloney, an Irish engineer with a fruit press. His girlfriend Vanessa, but think Sophia Loren on a retractable ladder in Willesden, if you want to imagine the scene. There was about 30, 35, 40 of us from all over the place, and we trampled the wild vines. We collected 400 pounds of vines from the wild of grapes, from the wild vines of Brent. We trampled them barefoot, taking off our shoes, feet washed, because it's only the skin of the human foot that can take off the protective coating of the grapes. I plunged my daughters in there as human grape crushers. There was one brief moment where my older daughter said, "This is more fun than going shopping." And then she went off to play on her iPad. But what have we got at the end of this? We've got 2 giant vats there in the front stoop where my biffa bins used to reign supreme. We got 2 giant vats fermenting the wine. About a week ago, Paolo knocked on my door and he said, "I think it's ready." Every 6 weeks, we'd been stirring it, stirring the cap, and the gentle smell of wine would waft towards Kilburn Police Station. There's a little bit of a Breaking Bad influence that is coming through this project. But he said it's ready. And then we did the thing which is the magical moment of it all, where you take all the great skins that have floated to the top, which have got the sweetest sugars in them still, and you squeeze them in the giant torchio, the press. And I set off to do it, and I set off with the torchio, which is, by the way, from Transition Town. Thank you, Transition Town. We set off to squeeze it, and there I was going to hit it as hard as I could, like the cricket ball. And then Paolo just said to me, "Tranquilo, tranquilo. You're in a relationship with these grapes. You don't just squeeze them and expect them to give you their juice. You wait. You feel if the grapes want to give you their juice. You go slowly." We went slowly. And as dusk fell, I noticed 3 new people who were sort of hovering on the edge of the small, low, sort of fancy bit onto the street. And my wife's Afghan. I recognized them as being sort of Persian-y looking. I know that's not a technical term. And, and the guy's eyes were bright. They were really bright. And we invited them in to crank the handle. And then he started talking. His name was Ramak. And he said they were from Iran, from Isfahan. And they'd come to England, expelled from Iran. Ramak said because one of the reasons was that he loved to make wine. And his wife was taking pictures of him to send back to his father in Tehran. I felt proud of Britain. I felt proud at that particular moment. He then leaned over, out of earshot of the Italians, and said to me, "Shiraz grapes. You know, by the way, it was the Iranians, not the Italians, who invented wine." Where are we now? We've got just over 200 bottles worth of this wine that's waiting to get ready. Unthinkable Drinkable Brent, we're calling the project. Others have suggested Brent Crude. Others have suggested Unthinkable, Undrinkable Brent. We don't know yet. It's early days. But we do know this. Our dream is to have a massive street party. We think it'll be a great chance to get to know the local police a bit better as well. And if it all fails, if it all goes wrong, then we've got ourselves a lifetime supply of vinegar. So I want to just end with one small thing. And Stephanie, I don't know if you're here anywhere near, but I want to sort of, on behalf of some people from Brent and in pledge of our eternal friendship with the people of Brixton, I want to give you the first ever bottle Thank you so much. Thank you.